Welcome to Between Rounds for the World Cup of Martial Arts, where we shine a spotlight on exceptional martial artists who are making a significant impact both inside and outside the arena. Today, we're honored to host a figure whose career spans over 3 decades, encompassing a multitude of roles: professional kickboxer, boxer, author, 5th degree black belt, martial arts Hall of Famer, and much more. She's an actress, a fitness instructor, a life coach, a creator of diverse fitness and self-defense programs, a philanthropist, and a staunch advocate for women and children's empowerment. Owner of Rondeau's Kickboxing in Johnston, Rhode Island, we welcome the legendary Master Christina Rondeau. Get ready for an inspiring journey through her remarkable life and multifaceted career.
Hi everyone, this is Mike Petrarca from the World Cup of Martial Arts Between Rounds series, where we chat with amazing martial artists doing phenomenal things in the world, not just on the mat or in the ring. And before I begin introducing today's guest, I'm going to need to take a dramatic and scripted drink of water so I can deliver this intro of all her accomplishments in one breath. All right, here we go. Our guest today has, in her illustrious 33-year-plus martial arts career, been a professional kickboxer, boxer, author, 5th degree black belt, martial arts Hall of Famer, featured in countless magazines and sports shows. She's an actress, a fitness instructor, a life coach, a creator of a plethora of fitness and self-defense programs, and she's orchestrated several fundraising efforts for those in need and is a tireless advocate for empowering women and children, and she is the owner of Rondeau's Kickboxing in Johnston, Rhode Island. It is my honor to have today with us kickboxing legend, Christine Rondeau.
Thank you. That was quite the intro. Wow. And that was one breath.
That one breath. I got it, right?
That was good.
Christine, it's so hard. It's certainly a blessing, but it's very difficult because when I have accomplished guests such as yourself that do so many things, I have to do you justice in mentioning all of them in the intro because I feel like it wouldn't do you the honor that you deserve.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That was pretty cool.
So, Christine, tell me, I know since the 90s you've been in the martial arts. How did your journey first begin?
Well, very interesting. Actually, I was bullied in high school. The bullying started in like 5th grade, but the real bully came into my life in high school, and that's when it really affected me. So that all led me into taking the path of going to take a karate class. And I talk about this in my bullied book. So a lot of people do ask me that story, and that's why I recently published Blessings from Being Bullied. You can find it on Amazon. You can just Google me too and find it. But it's an amazing book, and I'm not just saying it because it's my story and I wrote it, but I have the feedback is amazing, and it's inspired from children in 5th grade. I'd say about 5th grade level and higher. But I've even had I did a book signing at a senior like a senior center, and that's like 55 and up, really. And there was some people there that had already read the book, and they had brought the book to be signed. And the stories that they told me that they could relate to with the book was amazing. So, and again, it's all about not allowing somebody to take your power away. And that's what happened to me in high school. This girl was, I was popular. I was a jock. I had a good group of friends. I loved school. But this one bully would stalk me, and she'd, stand in the hallway like this and just stare me down outside of a classroom. And, there was 2 things I was worried about. One, it was being shamed and embarrassed in front of my friends. And then the second thing was being beat up. I had never been hit. I played softball, ran cross country, played track. I wrestled with my brother and sister and friends. Right. But never to take a punch to the face or have your hair pulled and punched. And again, add the embarrassment of having, getting beaten up in front of peers at school. Yes. I was very fearful of that. That scared me. And it created an anxiety that I didn't know. I didn't know what that was. We didn't have the label of anxiety like we have today everywhere. And I didn't know what it was. And I I found myself being stalked by her on a daily basis. And it came to the point where I was depressed. I didn't want to get up out of bed. I didn't want to go to school. One day I left school early. She had stalked me and she put me up against the lockers. And the bell rang and kids were coming out and everybody started making a circle. And I was like, oh God, she's going to beat me. She's going to beat me up right now. And she ended up letting me go because teachers were coming out in the hall too. And I left school that day. And that was the day I drove to a cemetery and I sat there and I just was like, I don't want to live anymore. Like, you just have that feeling of like, oh, I just want to die. And I don't even
like to that point where you were suicidal.
Yeah. I mean, and it was just that moment, but to have one person, right? One person take your power away and bring you to your knees where you feel like you don't want to live. Like, whoa, that's mind blowing. That's horrible because not one person should never take your power away. And I had that like moment at the cemetery where I was like, okay, well, I love my mom and I love my dad and I love my sister and I love my grandma. Like, I love my friends. Like, so why do I want to die? Because this girl won't leave me alone. Like, what am I afraid of? Like, I need to learn how to fight. And that's it. And I'm going to just have to fight back and get tough and just learn how to stand up for myself to this girl, which I knew meant physical standing up, So, I left and I'd asked my dad, to buy me a punching bag because Rocky was big. It was like,
of course,
Rocky. So I was like, maybe I'll learn how to punch. And then I was wrestling the next day with some softball girls. We were all hanging out after a game and ended up wrestling. And a girl sweeped me, and she threw me over her shoulder, and she did like these karate kicks. And I was like, how did you do that? And she's like,
just kind of in awe, right?
Yeah, I was in awe. I was like, she knows how to fight. What? And she said, don't tell anybody. Shh, it's a secret. I take karate with my dad. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, can I? I never even thought of karate. I was like, okay. I go, can I try a class? And she was like, yeah, come. Well, I took the class and I went to my dad the next day and I said, can I have the $70 to join? And he said, nope, you're going to pay for it yourself because if you don't stick with it and you quit, he's like, at least you paid for it. He said, so he's like, you're not going to stick with it. I still tell him that 35 years later. God, it became my life. I stuck with it.
That's amazing.
And
where was your first class? Do you remember?
It was, oh my God, it was Master of Martial Arts. It was a Fred Villari's and it was like Master of Martial Arts. It was with Don Petrin. He, I ended up going there for, ever. I got my black belt from him. It became my life, and then they picked me up for fighting and they were like, hey, you keep getting, I kept getting, what's the word from point karate, excessive contact.
Yep. Oh, okay. Excessive for point
karate. Contact, excessive contact. So I was losing a lot of my point karate fights for excessive contact. So I was getting disqualified and I was like, oh God, like I need to do something else, and then they brought me up to the Waco and I did the US kickboxing team and went to Poland, Ireland, Italy. And then I even brought, at one point, I think we had 6 or 7 of my students were on the US kickboxing team.
Oh, that must have been so fulfilling.
Yeah. And we went to Italy. So that was really cool. So those were great experiences, and then I got the phone call to fight pro. And that was it. Then my life took a whole nother turn.
Yeah. And at what point did you make the decision? Because I know you had a decorated amateur career. What point did you make the decision that it was time to go professional?
I had made the switch into amateur. So I had Don Petrin as my karate coach. And then I went to Peter Manfredo and Charlie Sampalis. So I was doing some boxing and some kickboxing with Peter. Peter, at that time, his son was just becoming big. So I did do the first amateur kickboxing fight in New Hampshire. I'm the first woman fight of New Hampshire. So I'm in the history books for that. But then his focus was so much on his son. He couldn't give me the attention that I needed. And I had met Charlie Sampalis through a mutual friend, my friend Josh. And Josh was a really good kickboxer too. He was amazing. His father actually is Ron Thiveridge. I don't know if you know his name.
Yes.
But,
Name does
All right,
sound
so
familiar.
Ron Thurridge was amazing. Josh was just as amazing. So Josh introduced me to Charlie, and then I said, let's do it. And he got me amateur fights. And we just got a call one day and they said, we got a girl for you to fight. You're going to turn pro. And how do you feel about turning pro? And I was like, all right, let's do it.
And
So,
let's do it. Yeah.
yeah.
I actually, I don't know if you know, I actually trained a year with Charlie later on in his
Oh,
West Warwick location.
yeah.
And actually, a guest that I had on previously, a good friend of mine and coach, Ty Wesley. I
Yeah,
don't know if
Ty.
you know Ty.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were sharing our Charlie stories and stuff as well.
Yeah.
It certainly had a way of motivating.
Yes. Charlie was unique. I missed that voice. I still hear him in my head yelling at me all the time, everything I used to do. It was his way of motivating.
Yes, yes. I know. I asked Coach Ty. I said, Ty, we have such a tell me your favorite Charlie story. And he had to wait a while to find an appropriate one. And it barely was appropriate. So I won't even ask you your favorite Charlie story. I think, well,
I was on Chuck Norris World Combat League and they needed another coach and they picked Charlie for Team New England. So Charlie was actually a coach for Team New England. And I think that was he was so proud though to be on a coach for Team New England. And I was on the team. John Mazzulla was on the team. So he had some of his people on the team. And I do remember him being just so absolutely proud about that moment in time,
Yeah, of course. And tell me about that. How did that experience in Chuck Norris's World Combat League help you gain more notoriety?
Well, they did some good marketing for it, I'll tell you. The biggest thing though that came out of so I did a fight in Mohegan Sun with them. So we had a lot of people. I mean, I had 3 bus loads leave my gym packed with tickets. I mean, I sold thousands and thousands of dollars of tickets.
Wow.
And they didn't give you a commission off ticket sales. They only paid you a flat rate. And I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure exactly why they didn't continue, but a lot of the people say it was, had to do with finances, which is most things. But I know the fighters weren't being paid a lot of money. It was very little money.
I see.
But I'll tell you, I had somebody vote for me for Fun Fearless Female in Cosmo magazine. I think it was 1999. That did the most for my career. Believe it or not.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
So I was just turning pro. Fun Fearless Female did pick me as a pro, turning pro for my pro fight. So they put me as a pro fighter. And from that, Maury Povich producer saw me and they flew me out to New York on a private jet with one of my best friends.
Oh, very nice.
And was on the Maury Povich show. So, and it was called You Cannot Believe What I Do for a Living. So that was fun.
That's amazing.
Yes. And then because of the Maury Povich show, a producer from a music group saw me, and then they hired me to be the lead in their music video.
And that's where you were the actress in the music video, right? Yeah.
Yep. So all these things I never made money. Let me tell you, my pay-per-view fight, they bounced my check. To this day, I have not been paid for my pay-per-view.
The live pay-per-view fight.
The live pay-per-view fight where, I mean, my God, that should have been like a good payday. I didn't get $1,
Jeez.
So there's other fights I wasn't paid for as well. So, I mean, money did not make money in this career. Not at all. It did bring me students into my gym. It gave me a ton of free publicity, wonderful things. And what was really fun was, being on the Maury Povich show, being in Cosmo, being in all these little music videos. It was really fun. A couple years back, have you ever heard of Black Hawk Walters?
No, I can't say that I have. No.
Right. He's from Utah. Look him up sometime. He's a kickboxing champion. He's been MIA since COVID.
Yeah.
But prior to COVID, I flew out to Utah and I actually met him and his wife for dinner. I had stumbled upon him in my travels. I had a kickboxing shirt on and I was out in Utah one year.
Yeah.
And we were in Navajo land and Indian land. And there was a woman that was making sage a
Oh
little
yeah.
Native American woman was making some sage. She was wrapping sage bundles.
Yep.
And I
It's
walked
just
over
to cleanse, right? A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
stuff.
yep, to cleanse, yep. And I walked over to her and I had a kickboxing shirt on and I was asking her about the sage. And then she asked me about the kickboxing. And then she said, do you know who Black Hawk Walters is? Well, I feel like he's the male version of me. So everything he's done in Utah, I've done like in the female side in Rhode Island.
Yeah, yeah.
He's amazing. He had like a 10-step program, motivation. He was like a pioneer and leader of all these things as well. Well, I ended up meeting him because of this lady. She ended up introducing us. So I talked to him for a year, met him and his wife for dinner. And then he wanted to promote me to my 6th degree black belt. And then he asked me to be, he was producing movies and he asked me to be in his movie. And I had the script, we had the role, we had everything. He was down. And then COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
Everything went, disappeared. But he disappeared along with COVID. Nobody knows where this man went.
Really?
He went off the grid.
That's a wild story.
Isn't that weird?
Black Hawk Walters, right?
Yes, Black Hawk Walters, kickboxing champion. Put it in Utah.
I'll have to check that out for sure. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christina, what was it like back then as a female fighter compared to now?
Money.
Money, right? They're actually getting paid right now.
They're getting paid. Yeah. I mean, Ronda Rousey paved the way for big giant paychecks. I mean, there's plenty of boxing females that paved the way and had some nice paydays. I'm good friends with Kathy Long. She's a pro kickboxer, but even her, she's a little older than me. And she got paid decent and she still has a great name for herself, and people still, love to have her sign autographs and see her at events and everything, do seminars. So these people paved the way, but not like the women today. I mean, you're a UFC fighter, you're making some money. And, even with the boxing has been doing really well with the females. They've been making a lot of money. Yeah.
And they're exciting. I like to watch them better than the men fight. I mean,
I know
that Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron, the second fight was even better than the first. I mean, there was no feeling out, in that fight. They were throwing combos and going at each other from start to finish.
That's what everybody says about female fighters. Like, we don't wait, we just go at it. Like we fight, we throw down the whole fight,
There was no range finders in round one or anything like that. There was 3 or 4 combos that were happening.
Exactly. I can remember seeing many local fights where they just wait, they wait, and then the last round there's some excitement. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good though. It's a big difference though, even with the marketing, because I think around the time where I was coming, I was really pushing marketing. And you got to remember, like when I was fighting, we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
So my fights aren't even on, they're on nobody's phones or anything. Everything was still with video recorders and whatnot.
Right.
And, I pretty much retired from the ring. Oh God, I can actually say like, it's been 15 years since I fought.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, maybe 15, 16 now. Yeah. I think I was 35 for my last fight. So, yeah.
Do you still stay involved in the fight game with training any amateurs or any pros, or how does that, how was your connection now to it?
I did. The last couple of years, I have not. I had a good group of women that we trained for years as fighters. Like I said, I took them to the U.S. kickboxing team. We did a ton of amateur fights. There was a couple girls that I wanted to could have maybe turned pro, but we just didn't get there. And then I just I've been doing this a long time. So I kind of took a little break from teaching the last couple of years. My gym runs beautifully. I have an amazing staff, and I've just kind of given myself a little break from teaching and being in the gym. But I'm kind of ready to teach a little bit and go back to it a little bit,
Ready to get back into it? Yeah, getting the itch again?
A little bit. Yeah, I miss, not teaching a couple times a week and whatnot. I've taken the time for me to work on other things like my books. I really wanted to work on my life coaching program. I wanted to work on, developing, and I had a dream to publish the books that I've published. And now, now anything I write is just fun, but everything I wanted to put out, I've put out,
That's amazing. And you did reference your book, the memoir, Blessings from Being Bullied. And I know you talked about how you were able to transform your adversity into triumph. What are some realistic tools that people can use to become more resilient?
Well, I put resources in the back of the book, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's very simple. Parents need to get their kids in a martial arts program at an early age. They do. It's super important. It is one of the few programs that's gonna, it's gonna build self-esteem, confidence, and skills. And when the time comes, if their child is ever a victim of a bully, and the odds are in their lifetime, because bullying doesn't just happen to kids, it can happen to seniors, it can happen to our age. It doesn't matter. There's bullies everywhere. You know what I mean? And people are very mean these days. That certain people at certain places, people have no more patience. Road rage is, everywhere. People can't wait in lines without mouthing off and making God forbid somebody accidentally cut a line, somebody's going to want to fight them. You know what I mean? It's everywhere.
Things are very extreme these days.
Yeah, it's very, very extreme. So I think having your children the skill and the confidence at an early age, so when it does happen to them, their kid has the confidence to protect themselves and they're not afraid. They're not afraid. Remember what I was afraid of? And when I go in and do talks at schools, that's the biggest thing the kids say. They're afraid of getting hit.
The fear of getting hit, yeah.
It's the fear of getting hit and the fear of being shamed in front of their friends. Those are the two key things. Shame and embarrassment in front of their friends, their peers. And then what does it feel like to get hit, actually getting hit, So I think if you start at an early age, build the confidence, you're giving them a life skill. Honestly, it's truly a life skill. Just like everybody should know how to swim. It's a life skill,
I agree.
Now they have this confidence. Now as an adult, they want to continue it and they know how to protect themselves. They can protect themselves as an adult as well. It's like riding a bike. You never forget how to punch. And when we put it in their heads, when we're talking self-defense specifically, obviously the art, you don't punch somebody in the throat. But with self-defense, it's about where you're hitting the targets. There's a lot of attacks out there that happen. And there was one specific one that always resonates with me. And the girl fought back. But when they arrested the guy, she ended up being dead at there was a rest area stop room. And she pulled over. The guy followed her into the bathroom. He attacked her. He ended up killing her. So the guy, when he was arrested and found, he had scratches, but they were on his face and they were on his arms and on his chest. She never got his eyes. She never got to his throat. So she didn't know what she was doing, but she tried. Now, if this was somebody that had it in their head, even from one self-defense class, maybe she would have used those nails to poke his eyes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's trained, that training may have helped.
Yes, absolutely. I always say when people take self-defense and they can learn how to protect themselves, they're giving themselves an 80% chance of survival. That's where the numbers are. 80% chance.
80%. That's actually remarkable. I didn't know it was that high. That's amazing.
Yeah. Those numbers I don't remember exactly where those numbers came from, but a long time ago, that was the number. And that's what I've always said. And again, it's poking the eyes, it's punching in the throat, it's understanding like you got to fight back and where to hit the person, and never believe a bad guy.
Right.
I teach a lot of safety. I do travel around. I just taught a class in Florida at a reload gun firearms place. So they did a huge women's self-defense, and I was the female self-defense expert that came. So I gave a great seminar on that. We did a bunch of nurses up in Massachusetts not too long ago.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was pretty cool. So I love, and that was always my passion, Mike. It was always teaching people how not to be a victim.
Yeah. You talk about that a lot. Everything I've read from you, it's about helping people defend themselves and stay healthy. Those are two things.
It turned into fitness somewhere in the early 2000s. It went from kickboxing self-defense to kickboxing fitness. So, and a lot of people will take the classes and they always say, well, do you offer self-defense? And I'm like, listen, every kickboxing class is a self-defense class because you're learning how to punch, kick, and we go over things in the classes. But I don't know what people have a vision of a self-defense class being, the guy in all the gear, maybe with the face cage, and now
Right.
you're him. You know what I
Right.
mean? I like the vision of self-defense is knowing how to punch and kick the right way and
Yeah.
where to punch and kick the attacker,
Yes. No, I agree. Well said. I've noticed, like, because again, I mean, we haven't even it's I know in the with the respective time, I know we don't have time to get into depth of everything you've done, but people can certainly read, and I want you to definitely promote the school after. But you're always, from what I've read and from what I've seen you do, you seem like you're always creating, like reinventing new projects to do and things like that. Tell me, where do these ideas come from, and how do you keep drawing from your inner creative reservoir?
Great question.
Where's because I've seen there's so much that you do, like the advocacy with cancer, the Make a Wish,
Yeah.
the being an author, the self defense classes. I mean, just where do you draw this from?
I think I just draw it from always wanting to do more and do better for
Mm,
others and for just society in general. So I always say, my new little saying is like, there's always a solution. So there's always a solution. There's never like when people have problems or we're trying to raise money for something and do something different, I might get an idea or just recreate somebody else's idea that may have failed. You know what I mean? So like there's always like a solution to every problem out there. And
yeah.
I just feel like people don't ask, people just are very black or white sometimes with
Mm,
things. And they don't look in that middle ground and listen to each other and try
right.
to figure out that solution, So I think I pull my creativity, I do a lot of my own life coaching. So I have my life coaching classes, but I coach myself the same way.
Yeah.
I try to really remain positive, and I get inspired from, reading other things. I read a lot of little different books, and
Mm,
I love all the little Buddha sayings. That's very motivating, but
yes.
I've always been inspired by the people that have taken my classes as well and their issues and trying to have solutions to what they need. And I think that's where like a lot of my ideas come from.
And that's such as a resilient mindset right there, right? There's always a solution. It's you never hit a wall. You
Yeah.
just figure out a way to get through it a different way, right? That's resiliency.
Yeah. And and if you have to take one step forward. So, the definition of anxiety is somebody trying to figure out all their life problems in 1 minute,
Right.
and
Right.
feeling that. And I always say, like, make a list, one thing on the list. What did you accomplish? At least one thing on the list. You don't have to do the whole list.
Right.
One step,
Right.
one thing at a time. And that I work off a list myself all the time. So I'll give myself a goal. I give myself my goal date. And then I always prioritize what's the most important things today,
Right.
and then what am I creating? So right now, my personal goals are to, really promote these books. I would love to see my Blessings from Being Bullied book. I would love to see teachers, even
Mm,
college professors, give them to the college students. Do a whole class on that's a whole lesson right there.
yeah.
Read
Yeah.
the book, talk about the book, talk about the psychology in it, the mental, emotional well-being from it. There's a whole
Mm,
class that can come from this book. Sit and have a roundtable discussion with
yes.
students,
Yeah.
ask them their experiences, and then see again, what's the solution? Do you guys agree with my book? Do you agree that you should be putting kids in a program and let them learn, because words aren't gonna, when somebody's punching you in the face, I don't care what words you use. If
Right.
if you can't take a punch or you don't know how to hit or defend yourself and block that punch, you're
Right.
you're gonna get hurt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
mean, there's so much that can come out of that. So I'd love to see that book in schools. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
And what else can we expect for you in 2024? I know you said that's your main goal, but what
Yeah,
else can we expect from
in
Christina Rondeau?
2024, I'm just going to do a lot more book promotions. So
Nice.
I have a publicist right now that's been setting up all sorts of like little book signings and whatnot. And my big thing that I've wanted to do, my big top goal is now I want to get into the movies. I've been wanting to produce and direct a movie. And I have a script, That
Oh, excellent.
it's going to be one of my next. It's a fun book. It's called Mama Mafia, and it's one of my next. Yeah,
Very Rhode
so,
Island right there,
yeah.
right?
I would like to do a little movie on the bullied book too, and that bullying situation.
Yep.
There's quite a few. There's a few scenes in there that would be amazing, and it could really teach a lesson. So I'd like to see Bullied now turn into a production. But then Mama Mafia is kind of like my big. I've been thinking about that for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and it's time to put that into action. And again, it has a whole self-defense aspect in that
Oh,
movie.
of course. I would expect nothing less. Come on, it has to.
So that's kind of my next goals.
That's amazing. And before we go, I have to just show you something before we go. So I have in my gym at home right here. I have it right here. And I said, you know what? And Christina, I didn't just buy this for this interview because as you can see, it's been worn. And let me tell you something. This has lasted for a very long time with me hitting the bag quite hard. And this is probably going well over a year. And it's still awesome. Looking good. So I gotta tell everybody, you have the quality there.
I love it. That's awesome.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for being a guest on my show Between Rounds. I can't wait to hear more of what you're going to do. And I have no doubt that with everything you've already accomplished, you're going to flow through this easily, I think.
Well, thank you.
So I can't wait for everything. And we'll hopefully talk.
As we conclude our fascinating conversation with Master Christina Rondeau, it's clear that her journey in martial arts is as inspiring as it is diverse. From overcoming personal challenges and bullying to championing the causes of women and children, Master Christina's story is a powerful testament to the transformative impact of martial arts. Her dedication to teaching, empowerment, and advocacy, coupled with her creative ventures in writing and future aspirations in film, truly set her apart as a multifaceted leader in her field. We thank Master Christina for sharing her experiences and insights with us, and we look forward to witnessing her future endeavors. Keep an eye on this incredible martial artist and role model as she continues to break barriers and inspire many. Until next time, stay tuned to the World Cup of Martial Arts Between Rounds for more inspiring stories from the world of martial arts.